It's believed at least 1,000 people have been killed, tens of thousands of homes destroyed, and much of the country is now in desperate need of food and clean water.
Hurricane Matthew tore across Haiti.
International aid continuing to pour into Beirut, where it's believed 250,000 people have lost their homes.
Today is the 30th anniversary of International Development Week, an incredible moment in Canadian history. So today, we've decided to show you how Canadians have contributed to poverty reduction and humanitarian assistance over the past 75 years. Due to World War II, there were many impacted by the war. Canada set out to help those affected by the conflict, to rebuild and reconstruct what was lost, and helped support refugees that had been displaced. The 1960s through to the 1980s was a time when Canada focused its energy to better its knowledge and expertise in international development. In 1960, the Canadian International Development Agency was created to help lead Canada in international development projects. Development projects also began to include women's rights. Match International, now known as the Equality Fund, was one of the earliest development organizations run by and for women. The Bosnia crisis resulted in 250,000 deaths and the loss of crucial resources. $540 million in development projects were provided by the Canadian government to help them back onto their feet. In their time of need, Canadians helped ensure life-saving humanitarian aid was delivered, and even today, Canadian aid continues to be delivered. 2010 was the year that Canada's largest international organizations officially joined forces to form the Humanitarian Coalition. These organizations work to mobilize and coordinate donations from Canadians to international crises in the most impactful and effective way. The African famine that increased poverty and food insecurity left many dangerously undernourished. Canada gave almost half of its aid during this year to assist Ethiopia. Just a few years later, the 2015 refugee crisis shook Canadians nationwide.
A heartbreaking symbol of an utter human catastrophe that we can't close our eyes to.
Thousands of refugees were left stranded without any basic needs, and many were fleeing for their safety. Canada helped resettle thousands of Syrian refugees and committed over $1 billion in humanitarian development and security assistance. When a deadly earthquake struck Nepal, killing an estimate of 9,000 individuals, injuring thousands more, and leaving them without shelter, $27 million in humanitarian assistance was provided to them to rebuild people's homes. 2016 Hurricane Matthew and the Ecuador earthquake impacted the lives of millions of people. Canada responded with around $8 million for those affected by Hurricane Matthew and with $2 million for those affected in the Ecuador earthquake. In the Myanmar Rohingya crisis, hundreds of thousands of Rohingya Muslims were violently attacked for their beliefs and forced to flee their homes. With the tragedy unfolding, Canada responded with $300 million of assistance over 3 years to address the crisis. Around $70 million was also provided for life-saving and gender-responsive humanitarian assistance.
The number of coronavirus cases in Pakistan has passed 100,000.
The coronavirus reached Gaza.
All over Bangladesh are turning away patients.
Yemen is on the brink of collapse.
Now, with the ongoing COVID-19 crisis that has wreaked havoc across the globe, we know that the only way to combat its effects is to work together internationally, which is why an estimated amount of $1.1 billion in funding has been distributed to support international efforts to fight the pandemic. 6 months ago, many were left without homes, medical attention, food, water, and other necessary needs, all the while also battling the COVID-19 pandemic. Canada responded with $30 million in humanitarian assistance. Islamic Relief, Oxfam Canada, Canada Care, and other members of the Humanitarian Coalition came together to help provide relief to those impacted all around the world. This was just a glimpse into what your aid has done and will continue to do in the years to come. Thousands of lives have been saved, and many countries have grown to stand on their own and thrive with your help. We can't stop until everyone is safe. Together, we can continue to bring real change.